Tonight, a potential commuter disaster has been averted. The union representing the LIRR workers reaching a tentative deal with the MTA after days of failed negotiations. Why the governor is taking credit for the agreement, we'll get into. And we also head overseas here to the Ukraine, where tonight authorities say a Malaysian Airlines flight carrying nearly 300 people has been shot down over the war-torn region. The president vowed his support with the investigation tonight, hearing from two experts on the area who will tell us what this could mean here, not just for the region, but for us as well. Plus, the Tappan Zee Bridge construction project gets a boost. New York State Board has approved a $265 million loan, a much smaller number than what was originally discussed. Good evening, everyone. I am Richard French, and welcome to RFL. Thanks for joining us. And we are following a developing story out of the Ukraine tonight, where Ukrainian officials say Malaysian Airlines flight was shot down in the country. And as we said, all 295 people on board are declared dead at this moment. The Ukrainian government and pro-Russian rebels both deny firing any types of missiles that may have brought the jet down. We will have complete report and coverage of this coming up. However, as we report to you this evening, we just got word the Russian President Vladimir Putin says that there was no involvement from the Russians, and in fact he alleges Ukrainian forces in fact were the ones who brought down the plane. Okay, let's get a little closer to home though. And let's get the latest on the rails. Today, the LIRR Workers Union announced that that strike has been averted. Tentative deal been reached, and let's go over to Samantha Lieben, who reports right now. This thing was hammered out with some help from the governor. Samantha?
Yes, well, the governor did get involved finally. The negotiation process at times very contentious, with talks breaking down quite a few times, and even the two sides going to the public with open letters and ads. But finally, a deal has been reached thanks to Governor Cuomo. After days of on and off negotiations, the 8 Long Island Railroad unions, without a contract for 4 years, finally reached an agreement with the MTA with the help of Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much.
This is a compromise by both parties after 4 long years.
The governor stepping in less than 3 days before a crippling strike. All the details not immediately available, but the deal includes a 17% wage increase over 6.5 years, a compromise between the two sides' proposals. The sticking point was how to pay for it.
That's where savings had to be identified, and they were primarily identified in the areas of health care costs for all employees, and then for new employees, wage progression, pension cost, and health costs.
The MTA had proposed last month that new hires pay double what current employees would pay towards those costs. Of course, the unions objected, but MTA Chair Thomas Prendergast said their proposal, based on the recommendations of 2 federal labor panels, was the basis for the latest negotiations.
We said it wasn't a last and final offer, and we used that as the basis. The union also came forward with other things for us to look for, and that's how we were able to come up with the compromise.
Despite what was described as a gulf between the two sides on Monday, when talks lasted less than an hour, Labor Coalition leader Anthony Simon says he was confident a deal could be reached.
Every one of us in this room always believed that we can get to a deal and protect the riding public. It was a long road, it was a tough road.
Now, the other good news today is that this deal will not impact fares. Now, the deal has to be ratified by the unions. They expect to do that by August 15th, and it will be presented to the MTA board in September. But passage by the unions, they say, will happen. So that's the latest here at the governor's office in Midtown Manhattan. We'll send it back to you, Rich.
All right. Thank you very much, Sam. Let me go through the numbers one more time for you about the deal here. Here's the core of it. The workers here, the rail workers, are going to get a 17% raise over 6.5 years. The sticking point before was 6 or 7. They split the difference. They're also going to have to contribute towards their health insurance costs. New workers will have different wage progressions and pension plan contributions. They'll have a different one than the current employees. The governor says the contract will have no impact on fares. Okay, let us bring in our panel right now. 5 people with very healthy self-images and your humble servant. Phil Rice to my left. Phil, columnist for the Journal News and Aloha.com. Generally considered the paper of record, Westchester County, home to one Rob Astorino. We talk about that as well. Republican strategist Bill O'Reilly, who serves as Astorino's, who served as a spokesman in his last 2 successful runs for county executive. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Richard Brodsky, former Democratic New York State Assemblyman, senior fellow at Demos, professor at NYU, and I could go on. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Now, before all of you say, oh, we all told you, because I heard it from those 2 at the end, that this deal, it was a matter of not if, but when. We always knew the deal was coming down. Me and the other news guys had Averted doing all the weekend planning, everything else for what was going to happen Monday, getting folks set up on the LA. If this was all posturing, right, then how come it did come down to late Thursday afternoon? Is that really part of the...
Because it's a better news cycle than Friday afternoon.
Right.
Really?
Really.
Yeah.
This is stagecraft. I'm
Did
glad,
they work
I'm,
this
glad
time?
I'm not
Wait a
the
minute.
only cynic on the set.
What business are you in?
My only point is there were a few tells that said, wait a second here, why are they doing this whole ad thing?
Right.
I mean,
On the radio and in the newspapers.
it's self-eviscerating themselves.
Yeah.
The union, if they took this, I almost was tempted if I was the MTA, let them keep going with this.
Did you
The
know-
public would have killed the union
Did you
for
notice
this.
that this deal tracks the deal for the Transit Workers Union?
Exactly.
There was always the notion that that was the pattern, and there was always sort of a back-channel understanding that the 2 would marry eventually. Look, governors hug the authorities of the state of New York when it's good for them, and they kick them in the can when it's bad for them. The governor did the same thing on the Port Authority tolls. He did the same thing numerous times. Governors do that. Republicans governors do it. Democratic governors do it. I'm glad there's no strike. It's no surprise.
Now, I want to get to politics in a second,
Say
but deal-wise, Dominic, union's the winner out of this deal, right?
Well, they got almost everything they wanted,
Nice.
well, hold on, Mr. Brodsky. I thought he asked me a question right now.
I apologize.
We're coming to you.
I
next.
apologize.
You can contradict
I
me.
apologize 3 times. That's all you
That's
get.
it. Okay.
You're out.
Don't push your luck. Keep going.
The,
Yeah.
the union got exactly what it wanted for the most part. But I wanted to go back to your original question. You said, why did they wait so long? Because the union leadership, they were playing to their members. We're going out on strike if they don't give us what we want. We've got your back. This deal was cut a long time ago. Why do you think de Blasio was leaving for his trip on Friday? He knew. He got the phone call from the governor's office. As I said on the show, there was never a possibility of a strike. And it's unfortunate because the public gets into a hysteria when they were never going to walk.
Andrew, my only point is
ever.
the public learned a few things through this, all right? Probably more than they wanted to know about contingency plans and everything else or lack thereof, but also they learned that basically the union, these guys are banging almost 90 grand a year. They're also about to get 17% raise over 6.5 years. The contributions into their health program is not as good as what the guys working on the rails are getting right now. I'm not so sure that education campaign on the union's behalf for the general public was necessarily the best thing that they had in mind.
Plus, this was the same union that got caught up in that disability scandal, the
and
$1 billion
anybody thinks
gravy
that's over
train.
And the
They're
whole
kidding
terms of the
themselves.
contract
They
going
had-
out yet.
Yeah, they had no chance of getting any public sympathy on this. So maybe that supports the
When
idea.
it's time to defend the labor unions, Andrew, let
Kick
me
it
know
over to
and I'll
Richard.
step in.
Go ahead.
I mean, give me a break. The notion that this is a corrupt union that was faking it for its members.
Who said corrupt?
He did.
I didn't say corrupt. I said there was a scandal.
Okay.
And
And
a
a
guy,
legitimate one over disability.
600 people lost their benefits on
yourself a
that,
good
and
lawyer.
one guy, and a doctor, went to jail for 8
But
years.
you didn't mean
corrupt.
But you didn't mean corrupt. Look,
Oh my
Get used to this.
there's plenty of
Bring it
criticism
on, Brodsky.
that can be leveled at labor unions, including the public sector unions, including the MTA unions. But the notion that this deal was a fake deal for a corrupt union, the guys who work and the women who work those jobs work hard, work well. It's a safety job. They deserve to be compensated. The question is, can you afford it? And that's the question, which we don't know the answer to yet. It's a little too soon to say this won't affect the fare structures. And just in
Well, they're
fairness,
going up anyway next year.
there's been a plan
Right.
for that, which everybody said was good planning. Let's not turn this into Fox News too soon.
Who's everybody?
He does this, and by the way, he's going to tell everybody to calm down in a minute. He's going to tell you to calm down in a minute. Trust me.
Okay.
But here's my thing, which is, at the end of the day, look how it's getting reported everywhere. The governor came on the white horse, and he saved the day on this thing. It certainly does look good for Governor Cuomo right now, whether it's deserved or not.
Yeah, I mean, he's running for re-election, so now he looks like a hero. Yeah, but
Bill loves that, right?
I think there's a lot of people laughing up their sleeves right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and to believe that this isn't going to affect the fares, come on. I mean, half the contract deal isn't even disclosed yet. They're saying they're not disclosing that, and the cameras will move off this by the time the deal gets disclosed.
But didn't you sort of set the governor up for this win? Didn't the Astorino campaign essentially set up Cuomo for this victory? But with the whole, Cuomo's telling Long Islanders, go to hell. I mean, that really put it all on him.
You asked him to get involved.
Yeah.
He got involved.
No, actually, we asked him to get involved. What he did was step in after the deal was done and say that he helped close it. That's what happened here.
And to be
like
fair,
a couple of hours
to be fair, Dominic, Andrew, don't you think the headline really was, at the end of the day, strike averted? Everything that ran up to it didn't happen. These guys knew this thing was going to work out. If they thought it wasn't going to work out, they'd have double and triple down. Remember, we had Jeannie on this week. She goes, "Where's the Astorino campaign? Why aren't they banging on the governor here to get something done?" Because they knew they were going to work it out. To be fair,
The exact same
You were
thing
right,
happened
Dominic,
with
all right.
Mario Cuomo in 1986.
And the exact same thing happened with Rob Astorino and the bus strikes in Westchester County. Self-righteousness does not advance
even
your
being
cause.
self-righteous. It's historical.
Eddie Spano went to China.
Yes. We see that a few times.
That's right.
I never understood only one thing. Why didn't de Blasio say, "I won't go," if he knew there was a deal? Why didn't he say, "I'm not going to Italy if there's a strike"? Why did he keep stringing this thing out? And even do a national TV and keep pushing the thing. That part never made sense to me. If he knew there was a deal, then he would know and he wouldn't have had to cancel his
He
trip.
may not have known exactly when it was going to happen, but probably someone suggested strongly that it was all going to work out in the end.
And by the way, we don't have time for this. Letitia James, not once, not twice, but 3 times, telling everybody, like the Alexander Haig moment, I'm going to be in charge here when he's gone. I'm already checking out legally what I can do and can't do if he's not back by the 9th day.
Do I have an army?
Be afraid. Be very afraid, New
But why
York.
would de Blasio wade in on something like this? He doesn't have any power as mayor to really
I'm just saying,
negotiate
Andrew,
the
you
deal.
should have said, "I'm not leaving if there's a strike."
So get out of the way, and if it's a positive for Cuomo, and let him have that moment as he's running for re-election.
All
And
I'm
if
saying
it-
is he
and
should
if it
say,
blow
"I
up in
wouldn't-
his-
I'm not
and
leaving
blow
if
up in
it
his
goes away."
face, it blows up on Cuomo and not on de Blasio. That doesn't exactly hurt de Blasio either.
I just don't see any upside for him if he knew this was going to work. He should have just taken away all the wasted conversation and say, "I'm not going anywhere."
There are politics in Casablanca.
I'm shocked to find that out. Shocked.
All right, softball. All right, coming up next here, while this crisis is averted, there is major problems going on, not just in the Middle East, but Eastern Europe. We're going to head to the Ukraine, where authorities say Malaysian Airlines flight carrying nearly 300 people has been shot down. Next, where we will be hearing from 2 experts on Ukraine, one from the military side and one who was there observing the recent elections here, talking about what's going on, who's really pulling some of the levers here, and how this could all play out in the coming days. Plus, we have an advancement in the Gaza Strip. There is now a ground invasion underway. We'll have more on that as well. Stay with us.